Day. Oh.
Welcome back, everyone, to the podcast. We've got Adam looking fantastic as he always does. Jez just looks fresh. This early start to the week, I think, suits him. He's really on the ball. He's fresh, ready to go. We're not during the week where it's a bit of a slog to get over that hump day. Look, we're doing an early podcast this week, so hopefully it works for you a little bit earlier as well. Plenty of talking points, weekend of footy that showed some of the pretenders, I think, of the competition this year and some of the guys who are favourites. So we'll see what happens. But there is one person I know here that wants to get quite a bit off his chest, I think, early on and take the tough carry off the kick-off. So I'm going to hand straight over to Adam. So I think you want to talk about the sin bins and some inconsistencies as well.
I just want to know who your pretenders are first. You're referring to Cronulla again? Because I feel like you've been on Cronulla all year, eh? Well, you've been off Cronulla.
Yeah. Well, we're getting to the Sharkies, but they're definitely one of the pretenders for mine.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, I just want to talk about consistencies because I've said this all along, and I just have to keep going back to it. And I guess the one thing you want as a fan is consistency in the game of referees' decisions. And across the weekend, we just didn't see it once again. I think I'm all for NRL crackdowns. I'm all for them getting shit out of the game. Like, we've obviously seen it with the hip job earlier in the year and stuff, but if they're going to do it, they need to do it consistently. And the only time in the last, let's say it, since the Ennisley and his name's escaped my mind, Peter V'landys era, the only thing that's really we've had a consistent crackdown on is at Magic Round in 2021. And the only reason that happened, I'm losing my voice as well, guys. I'm going downhill fast. I must be getting ready to go overseas or something because I'm starting to get sick. But look, the only time they've ever had that crackdown was at Magic Round in 2021. And the only reason they had it was because the referees are all at the games, obviously it being at the same venue. They saw what was happening in the games before them. So they knew what calls had to be made by watching the previous games. I'm going to ask the question, do you think the referees watched the other games on the weekend?
Oh, I think some of them would, some of them wouldn't, like the players do. Some would probably want to get away and not immerse themselves in every single game of footy, but I think some of them probably would be footy nerds as well.
Yeah, like you think.
I'd like to think that they would. I'd like to think that they would, just to have that consistency. And to go on your point, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those referees' meetings and see what the agendas are. Because there are weeks where there is clear agendas that have been spoken about, and they're the penalties that they're looking for and the players that they're looking to penalise.
And the thing is, when they do these kind of crackdowns, they, like you said, they have these meetings. I know they go to the clubs and say, this is what we're going to be watching this week, blah, 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 blah. An example of that's the ball plant. Allegedly, at the start of the season, they went to the clubs and said, we're going to watch the ball plant, blah, blah, and they continuously got it wrong for the first couple of weeks and cost the same team 2 games. But we won't go into that. For me, they need to come out and make it I think we need to get to I know we have Ennisley has his referees meeting at the end of the game to address the mistakes they make. But why can't we have some kind of, referees boss or referees meeting, press conference at the start of it? I don't expect them to have it after every game. I know people have wanted that for a long time because I get they've got to make decisions on the run. But at the start of the week, why don't they have that and say, this is what we're going to do? So the fans know. Because, look, I know obviously being a Parramatta fan, I'm going to highlight in that game, but there's so many good examples of things that have happened in that game. Of things that happen in other games and get called. Now, I'll start with the ones against Parramatta. So I know we're going to talk about the Reed Campbell one obviously later, but I don't have a problem with it being a sin bin. But it's happened in so many games this year, probably to not to that extent. He got that completely wrong and was watching NRL 360 and not making excuses for him after. He was probably a bit fatigued. And I think I know what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to get Lotus to slow the tackle down and he just completely got it wrong, got his body shape wrong. And like I said, accident's going to happen in the game. Fair enough, suspend him, but that came in about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't know what the game was.
Do you genuinely believe that was an accident, though? Watching that live, I thought that should have been a send-off. Because I thought it was deliberate. I thought it was lazy.
And so did I until I watched it back. And the reason I watched it back is, I always watch the games back, but I watched it back to see his other tackles. And he did it 4 or 5 times and he got it right. And it's part of his technique, and that's why I don't think it was deliberate. Part of his technique is to drop to – he's a big boy. Let's see how tall he is. He drops to his knees, and he wraps up the upper body and slows the play of the ball down. Now, we've seen different tactics brought in by different teams over the years. That's obviously his tactic. It's something he's going to have to change now because he's going to get it wrong again. And now he's got that record for it. They're going to be watching for it, which I'll get to soon about Tino. But I honestly believe by his reaction and the fact he got it wrong, there was no malice in it. He's got the suspension. He's got the 3 to 4 weeks. And look, I went and watched the game. There was 2 or 3 times where he got it right, and you can see, and one of them was even after he'd been sin bin. He still went in and did it and got it right. So I was going to try and find the game and crop the examples and stuff, but I just didn't get a chance. Look at my eyes working, so much fun. But I'm getting sidetracked. I'm going on RCG, but it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago they started watching that. I can't remember the game. Joel, Jeremy, one of you might remember. It was on one of the fullbacks. And when we first saw it, we all thought, what are they meant to do here? Because you're going to the ground, you can't always predict where the body – I'm not saying that one was the case, but you can't always predict where the body's going to land. And it's like the hip drop. Accidents are going to happen in the game. Now, whether that one was bad, I'm not saying he didn't deserve a sin. I'm not saying he didn't deserve a suspension, but there'll be other times that will happen in a game, and there'll be other times where there's 2 people in the tackle and knees will go straight in the back. Let's go back to Jaden Campbell last year. And this is the example I make here. This is where it all started. Actually, it all started the year before because of Dylan Brown. Dylan Brown I believe he ended up getting 4 weeks. The Roosters had a whinge. Magic round happened the week after. The Roosters ruined the game. I always highlight that one. It's the same one that Tedesco fell into a tackle and they ruined that. But the standard should have been set then. Any knees to the ribs, anything's 4 weeks done. But Jaden Campbell comes out last year, slides in exactly the same as Brown did. I know he's trying to save a tackle, but no arm. There was no chance he was going to save a tackle. Breaks Sean Russell's ribs. Now, Sean Russell in 29 minutes of that game scored 3 tries. Sean Russell doesn't play first grade that year again. Sean Russell probably would have played in the grand final at the age of 20. But on 19, I think he would have been last year. But instead of that, he misses half a season, can't get his confidence back after coming back from a punctured lung and doesn't get to play football again in the NRL that year. And Campbell doesn't get suspended. We saw Campbell do that 2 or 3 times throughout the year. He's got to have his game this year. But, why the crackdown this weekend? Because you got a bloke who's, let's say Campbell's 78 kilos and a lot lighter on his feet, or someone who's 120 kilos. I know who's more likely to have one of those clumsy moments. I say that being bigger myself, and I don't know what my footwork's like, but it's just inconsistencies. Let's look at the Tino one, the Tino elbow. How long has that been happening for? 3-4 weeks?
Well, he put 2 people out, remember? He broke up his jaw, broke someone else's jaw.
Broke up his jaw. Reed Mahoney. Marnie, knocked him out. I always get Mahoney wrong. Just wait, so he'll be spelled. But so Cobbo goes to the bin for a similar thing on Saturday 3 o'clock, Saturday game. Yeah. It's weird the Broncos are playing the Saturday game. We're used to the Friday night Broncos. But he goes to the bin for that. And then Tino comes out. And look, Mitchell Moses milked it. But Tino comes out and does it. Moses throws his head back. Good on Mitch. He took the opportunity. He doesn't get sin bin for a bloke who's got a reputation. He did another 2 times, and that's exactly the same. And the referee didn't have the balls to penalise him. Where's the consistency there? And now look at shoulder charges. A shoulder charge, you've got to make direct contact with the head now, apparently, for it to be a sin bin, but shoulder charges are illegal. If you've made no genuine attempt to wrap the arm and you can see it's as deliberate as you can get. He did that 3 times in that second half.
There was a shoulder charge in the Knights-Tigers game as well on Ponga. Ponga took a dive, did Mitchell Moses and took a dive as well. But it was contact to the head. There was no wrapping of the arm. That is all definition of a shoulder charge, but it wasn't penalised.
It's just this is the problem I have, and I keep going back to this. They've brought in so many rules now and so many different things that they can't keep up with it. And they're going to have this crackdown, this shit that could cost a team a game, could cost a team a season, could cost a player a season, really. And then they're going to turn around and in 3 to 4 weeks change what they're doing and not really care about that anymore. And it's just the most frustrating thing as fans. Well, I thought the referee was disgraceful yesterday. I thought it was disgraceful both ways. I thought he had an absolute shocker, but they can't be missing things that clear knock-ons, forward passes, laying on the ruck, slowing the speed down because they're looking for acts of foul play instead of watching the simple things in the game that make a game flow.
The amount of offsides that were in that game as well were dramatically missed. What is the point of the 2 people with flags in their hands? I know they're supposed to put it up when people kick a goal, but honestly, what do they do? When they go out eventually.
The touch in front of us in the first half will never want to come back to Parramatta in his life. I've never heard a more loud crowd. And everyone's going, they're angry because of sin bins. There's a lot of stuff you couldn't see on TV about how far offside they were standing and they're slowing the ruck down and stuff. I've never been a part of it. Actually, the last crowd I've been involved with that was like that was 2010 when Melbourne returned to Parramatta after cheating the salary cap. And that's what it was like. There was this angry. Like, there was so much anger.
It comes back to your point. The referees are quick to, at the end of the game or at the end of the round, come out and go, we got that wrong. But then we don't see any improvements on that. We don't see or hear, and I guess that's what you're alluding to, is you would like to hear at the start of the week what the focus is based on what happened in the previous round. And that would show us as fans that the referees are learning from those mistakes and actually putting plans in place rather than just seeing a random crackdown in round 20,
Well, that's it. And it should be, everything should be done from the start of the year as well, not halfway through a year. And look, they've come out today and pretty much said they've cost the Titans the game anyway because they missed an offside. That's bad. And look, I've gone back and watched the game once again. I said, obviously the Titans have put in a complaint about that. The same one when Mitchell Moses took his field goal, the Gold Coast were offside. It's exactly the same. But now they've come out and said they got it wrong. How do they get that wrong when the week before a game was decided by that exact decision? Like, it was the exact decision. And yeah, well, that's your old man. That's your old man, isn't it, Joel? Said one of the touches.
Be doing that.
The what?
They should be doing that.
They should. They don't.
Yeah, and
the problem with, I think let's start with last night's game, the Ayers Titans. Obviously, that's the one that we all watched and we're talking quite a lot in the chat about. It was clear as day as that referee last night isn't up to first grade standard, from my opinion, because he lost control of that game early on and he just didn't get it back ever. And that was clear for both sides. It's not just one team. It was just things completely missed, things that should have happened that shouldn't. Like Tino, for those two instances that he was on report for, and he easily should have been sin bin for at least one of those. And we've seen all year players be sin bin for that. So to get to, especially after what had happened with the first two plays, it was like, okay, this referee is not scared to put people in the bin. It was as if he got to Tino and thought, oh shit, I'm not putting Tino in the bin. I'll cover backlash for this or something, and didn't do it. It was just, that's what frustrates fans a lot, is that when it feels like it's bias, being biased in a way. It's not, obviously you don't want to say a ref wants to a certain team to win the game or anything like that, but that's what it sort of starts to come across as. And I know a lot of people were saying that Titans didn't get much rub of the green last night, but to be fair, they should have at least got one player in sin bin in that game and didn't do so. So that's on that. But my thing on this whole thing, and look, as a Para fan, I don't have an issue with either player being sin bin and the weeks that they've got coming up. And it was mentioned by the old man a bit up here, is the fact that just not the bunker. I don't know if they should be able to hear the commentary, because some people like Blocker and stuff, they have no idea what's going on. So if he's making decisions, God help us, it'll get even worse. But my problem is with the bunker, and then with the judiciary as well, who have time up their sleeve to look at stuff like this and get the right outcome, but continually are getting it wrong. And we talk about this, it feels like almost every week at the moment, is that they just get little things like suspensions and that so wrong. And they've got days to look at it, to work it out. The bunker has minutes to look at what to do and how to decide things. And we're still just seeing him get things so wrong that we can look at straight away as fans and go, okay, that's a sin bin, that's a shoulder charge, easy done. Like, heard on NRL 360 tonight, some of them are trying to say Tino's one wasn't a shoulder charge. It was a clear shoulder charge. His arm didn't even go up to look like making a tackle. So I don't know what some of these, a lot of people are biased in their views and look at things differently, being, oh, I'm an ex-player, I've done this and that. Like, okay, good on you, but call a spade a spade. That was a shoulder charge, end of story. He should have been sin bin for it. He wasn't. He's now got the weeks for it, which warrant he should have been sin bin, and it didn't happen. That's the stuff that is frustrating.
He's not learning from it either, because that's his third offence for a shoulder charge. And like, I've always liked Tino. I find him really well spoken. I've seen him do a lot of good stuff, like, for kids and, like, obviously around the Gold Coast stuff, which is the thing the Gold Coast Titans really need, because they haven't got a lot of fans and haven't got a lot of following. So it's good to see that. But he's starting to become a grub of the game with the things he's doing. And the crowd was relentlessly into him yesterday for that reason. Like, he got away with a shoulder charge with just a penalty. And then he shoulder charged Sean Russell, said, with a minute to go, exactly the same, to try and win the game for his team. Yeah. Now, Sean Russell's a lot smaller than Regan Campbell-Gillard. The chances of hitting him in the head are a lot higher, especially because a winger usually looks to go to ground pretty quickly as they return the ball. They don't try and fight for it to get that quick play the ball so they don't get dragged back. And, he's already broken Appy's jaw. He's knocked out Reed. Like, he could have done the same thing to Mitch yesterday. The Mitch one, look, it was probably at the lower end of the scale. I didn't really think he deserved a sin bin for that. But, He milked it for all it was worth. But the fact he then went on to do it 2 more times shows he's not learning. And the whole thing of these crackdowns was to get it out of the game. Yet we're seeing shit 2 years ago that was put in the bin, not be put in the bin anymore. And I'll just say to you, I'm a big fan of the shoulder charge. I wish they never got rid of it.
Yeah.
I thought it used to be the greatest thing ever, but I believe the risk of the shoulder charge is if you are going to do it, it should be legal. But if any contact is made in the head, it's a straight send-off because that's what it was like in the Super League.
We can see the comments are starting to fire up a bit with the fans, so keep that coming as well, fans. Jez, just on this one, is there a time to bring the second ref back? Do you feel?
Yeah, Adam and I have conversations about this all the time. Like watching rugby league, as much as people didn't enjoy having 2 referees, one controlling the ruck, one controlling the 10, like I feel as though it should come back. And if it does, I would like it to take away the bunker, because watching the Knights Tigers game live, I think it was about 18 minutes of paused play. Every try was checked. And us as fans, seeing it happen in front of us, awarding the try or calling it a no try live, for them to just sit there and watch minutes of footage, us fans there at the ground are getting so frustrated at that. So if it is 2 referees, the bunker, we can't go back, as Mika said in the comments, you can't go back several plays or several moments in that play to take away a try. It needs to be, don't even get me started on that sort of interjection from the bunker, because it was nearly 18 minutes of paused play that we were sitting there in the cold watching a pretty dreary Knights Tigers game. Like, honestly,
as you mentioned, they were both things, like obviously we're sitting next to each other, both things we called live. Like, I saw Dom Young knock the ball on live from a hill for his 3rd try, yet they checked it 6 times, and the referees who were, standing from me to my laptop away missed it. Like, and then the other one for the Tigers' first try, like, I still was okay with that being a try. Like,
I was okay with that as a try as a Knights fan. Watching that live,
that's the inconsistencies of the way they find to overturn stuff as well. It's really what grinds your gear. But
it just slows it down.
It's my pet hate. It's a pet hate of mine, because for mine, what we were originally sold for the bunker was that they'll be checking for tries and no tries as the kicker was getting ready to and lining up the shot. That's enough time for them to find out if it's a try or not. What we're getting at the moment is the fact that they're going to line up the play. They've seen the replays 15 times like we are at home. They're stopping it, and then they're still looking at the same replay 15 more times. So what are they doing in between? They should have their mind made up before we even go to the bunker and get that checked out. I don't understand why we're wasting so much time with it.
Yeah, I'm not saying get rid of the bunker, because the bunker was brought in to get rid of the howler. The bunker was brought in to get rid of the absolute no try that had been awarded for some bizarre reason. But what we need to do is get far more efficient at it, whether that's having someone better sitting in front of the screen, having someone live at the ground doing it rather than a bunker. It just takes up way too much time. And
you want the old blackboard with the green and red light back, don't you?
I do.
Try. So everyone can look up and point at it.
Perfect. But it just takes up way too much time. And us as fans sitting at the ground, it's frustrating.
I think there's 2 options with the 2 referees. I think one, first of all, I'm sick of this try confirmed, send up as try, then check it. If there's doubt over the try, obviously send it upstairs instead of you're not sure. And then if it gets overturned or whatever, try, no try. So the referee can still send up as back like they used to as a try or no try. If we're going back to check things that happened, 7 passes earlier or obstructions that we couldn't quite see or whatever, and we've given them a try, I think fans are going to be happy with that, the things that happened in the game. But as for the referees, if they go back to 2 referees, I'd go with 2 options. One would be a constant pocket referee. They used to rotate, and you had one was pocket, one was they were rotating what they do. So
it was always fun to watch them switch over.
Yeah, exactly right, which I didn't agree with. I think one's got to stay in the pocket so you get your consistencies around your pocket call. The other one is obviously consistency around the offsides and the high shots and things like that. The other option is to keep with 1 referee and go to 2 in-goal touch judges, like they do in like some of the grand finals and stuff locally. And they can essentially rule on stuff out to the 20 and 30 and into the in-goals. And they're going to have a much clearer, obviously, decision on ball put downs and sideline things and things along the lines for tries, which means we'd be eliminating the bunker a bit more. But I don't think NRL wants to spend the money, to be honest.
It's how long until we put chips in the ball and we are ruling on forward passes? Like, if we want to buy into technology, let's bring that in.
Well, but they ruled on a forward pass on the Knights game. I know it wasn't technically a forward pass. They're called a knock on.
Yeah.
They could still determine if the ball went forward or back.
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating thing as well. Like, you can see if a ball's backwards out of the hands by quite easily seeing it, but they're never going to get everything right. We're going to obviously understand there's going to be mistakes. I just want consistency.
Yeah. We could go on about this for hours, I feel, and the comment section is showing that a lot of people, all the referee and that gets people going. So it's something that we continue to go back to, and I have no doubt in the run to the finals we're going to go and talk about more controversial decisions that they don't get right. My final word on the bunker is the fact that we were sold that it would cut down the time used for video ref decisions and things like that. For mine, it's extended. It's double what the video ref used to take. So for mine, that side of it has just been a joke, and they're not even getting everything right. That's the problem. They've done some howlers in the past. We all know that some of the howlers that's happened. So just get it right. But let's talk about something fun, and that's the West Tigers. It's a fun topic.
Can I highlight one more fun thing? It's like Homer Simpson is sitting there with his feet up in the bunker, not watching the game and waiting to make a call, because it's like they're half asleep when they wake up to make a call. It takes them that long to react to it. Moving on. Tigers.
West Tigers. Let's discuss, and guys, I know this is another talking point that gets the fans going. So there's a lot of problems that I want to talk about, but first I want to there's a shining light at the Tigers at the moment, and I want to talk about it and get the positive out of the way before we go too deep. It's Jerome Buller. I think this kid is an absolute superstar in the making and the next $1 million player. I'll go out and say that now. I think he's the next guy who's going to be demanding the big contract. I think someone will throw silly money at him, and I think at the moment it's probably deserved. So I'll go to Jez first. I'll go thoughts on Buller. It's not just his attack either. It's his defensive plays. He saves, I think, about 2 to 3 tries a game and scores 2 to 3. Like, it's ridiculous at the moment watching him play.
Yeah, well, like in that Knights game, he scored 2 and saved 2, I'm fairly sure. Every time he touched the ball was electric, and it seemed to bring a lot of the Tigers fans out of the woodwork when he was on the ball. And it honestly seems to be their only shining light this season. Like, they go on about their recruitment, but they need to really retain this bloke. He is fun to watch play footy. And you're right, I think he is probably going to be the next superstar of the game. Whether or not he's in Tigers colours is completely up to that backwards club.
This has Roosters all over it, I feel like. The next year or two, push Tedesco out and bring in the next rising star. Adam, I know you wanted to bring up Buller. I'm hoping it was for a good reason.
Great reason. I think, sorry, my screen's just done that weird lock thing it does every week, and I forget to click every week, and you never remind me. So just unlocking the password.
From now on, in the comments, can people every about 15 minutes just write click in the comments just to remind us?
Shake your mouse, Adam. Shake your mouse.
Thank you.
I never used to do it, It's obviously the work laptop, and they want to avoid people slacking off at work, so that's why it does it anyway. Moving on, Buller. Look, I think he's fantastic. Could we be seeing the next Tigers big 4 come through? Well, that could be exciting. I love when the Tigers bring a big 4 because they only keep one. It's usually not the fullback, so you're right.
Well, who have you got? Who's in your 4?
No, I don't know. There's only one. Oh, there's 2. Oh, I quite like that Tupou coming through on the wing as well. I think he's a future star as well. But I think Tim Sheen's come out and said it pretty well. He said they would have lost by 40 if it wasn't for him. And they're right. Like, the amount of things he saved in front of us and got there. And, well, when Tyson Gamble quietly strolled over to try and score a try, and he almost got there to get that off him as well, which is saying they probably wouldn't realise how close it was on TV. He was just all effort. Like, his team's season is over. They were never, I know it seemed like they were in the game, but they never were really look like winning the game. At 18-12, it was pretty close, but let's just put that down to Kalen Ponga's poor kicking, which I know Jeremy's going to have a grind about later. But, he's a star. And the Tigers, they're a basket case at the moment. The CEO
get into it. Get into the negative stuff. Let's go.
The CEO's got the full support of the board, so it means Sportsbet are currently offering $1.04 for him to be sacked in a week. Sorry, he won't be sacked, guys. He'll walk away.
Walk away. Yeah, walk away.
Family reasons. It'll be family reasons, all right? But like I said, they got it. The Tigers had to be smarter. We obviously saw them spend a bit of money in the off-season. Coruscant, Papali'i. Is that all they bought? I felt like they bought more.
Yeah.
Clemmer.
Clemmer. Sorry, Clemmer.
But when you look at it, they've now got
And Bateman. Sorry, Bateman.
Bateman, yeah. They got Appy there, who's a state of origin hooker when he wasn't injured. They got Ukamanu, whatever it is. Joel, what is it?
Ukamanu.
Ukamanu, yep. He's obviously they paid big money for him from Parramatta. And they've got these kids coming through now, and that's obviously what the Tigers need to be about for the next few weeks, is continuing to give these kids a run and getting them into first grade. But I think the more they do that, the more scared they'll be they will lose him. But I want to talk more about Buller quickly before I go in it. It's a joke of a system that he couldn't play till after round 10 as well because he was on a development contract. So we're just holding kids back with that kind of things as well.
Should reward him.
We should, but who says, you go back and look at the Tigers before round 10. They had some really close games. They just got beat by Parramatta. I think he played. Oh, no, he didn't play in that. It was Tupou that played in that game. They just got beat by Parramatta. They just got beat by Manly. There's someone else they just got beat by. There's a couple of games they really should have won. They had a good young kid like that in there with a bit of spark. They might have won those games. Yeah. So, the Tigers, I don't know. They're Parramatta of 2012, 11, 13, aren't they? They're just a mess.
I think this comment sort of is sort of summing them up at the moment, the West Tigers. The fact that it feels like they've got about 4 coaches there at the moment. Oh, that's what we're getting sold to. You've got Benji there, you got Robbie there, you got Sheens there. Looks like they're trying to bring Holbrook in as well. Their CEO and the owner thinks their coaches the way they're trying to get in the media every 24/7, and all their rumours are floated about. Everyone knows everything's happening at that club at the moment. But it feels like, and this is how it looks like they're playing. They're all playing confused. It's like the coaches aren't even on the same page. So they're telling their players different messages or something, and they're all going out there. They've got no idea what's going on. Like, it just looks like the whole joint at the moment is confused. They have no identity. They have no idea what they want to stand for as a football club. And that's the problem at the moment. Their CEO, the owner, Lee Hadley-Patelis, and the bloody guy who thinks he's a model and walks around. I've had a mental blank on his name, but dead set. They just need to leave the club, and the club just needs to start again. Sheens, from one, needs to go as well. If Benji's their future, put him in the deep end now and let it happen. Let it ride out. And I think if he was there right now doing it all, Tigers fans would be a bit more lenient on Benji Marshall, because that way they can at least see that they're going somewhere and it's building for the future. Where at the moment, all we're getting sold in the fans, in the media and stuff, is that Tim Sheens is the guy, which we all know he's not. He's just there taking press conferences and answering media. Just get Benji to do it all. If he wants to be a coach, if that's his future, throw him in now and let it just get done. Let him look after the whole thing, because all it is doing at the moment, it feels like, it's not at its worst yet for the Tigers. I feel like until Benji gets full reins, then they start to go up. But I still feel like there's room for him to go down.
Are they doing this because they're obviously protecting Benji? But are they doing this, putting Tim Sheens at the forefront and having these, coaches in surplus because they know that they're fundamentally a basket case, as Adam said? So it doesn't matter who's in control. It just doesn't seem like they're in the right position to have someone like Benji Marshall, who has a lot to lose, to be the face of the club at the moment. So to have the old guy standing in front, to be the shield, if you will, it's going to deflect a lot from Benji. I'm really worried for when he gets full reins, what the media are going to do. And I just think that the Tigers are very lucky that they have some very loyal fans, because there were a lot there on the weekend in their Tigers colours. Very lucky. They are very lucky with that. And I think the frustrating thing for Tigers fans is just that they don't look like they're improving at all. And have you ever seen an assistant? Yeah, well, they were for that 3-game period. It's just gone so far back. The Cowboys.
But the thing is, they obviously got a few injuries and stuff, but I think that it kind of gave the fans and the club a bit of hope when they started going on the way up. And then obviously those losses come, and a lot of those losses come due to injuries, and then all of a sudden the infighting started again. Like, as someone said in the comments, it's like the joint ventures hate each other, but you work it out. They've got 4 different coaches, 4 different grounds, right? They got 4 different. Are they still got 4 captains, or are they set on captains this year? Remember they used to have the 4 different captains.
That's 6 at one stage. I think
they had 6.
They've got more problems than the Warriors do jerseys, and it's.
That's a lot.
They got a lot of jerseys.
How long have you been waiting to say that for? Was that
That's a good one. That's one of your best.
That is. If you were a diehard Warriors fan, you bought every jersey. Imagine what Troy's cave would look like if he was a Warriors fan. If you had to have them out jerseys in 10 years, but
anyway, you have to have a mansion.
It wouldn't be Troy's barricade, it would be Troy's Warriors mansion. But anyway, no, look, they've obviously got massive issues there, and as you said, I think it's about Benji gave up a lot. Like Benji didn't need to step into coaching; he was in the media. I know where I'd rather be. I know it's a lot stressful job. I've coached, and I'm still coaching, and it's stressful. And I don't see it getting better. Jeremy asked an interesting question on the way out of the Knights game the other day, because obviously the fighting's there, and there's obviously issues with money in the boards and all this kind of stuff, and you obviously got the representation there of the Tigers and obviously the Magpies. The Magpies really get nothing out of this venture besides being the money. They play as the West Tigers. Obviously, they play a few games at Leichhardt, and obviously some reason at Combank, some at ANZ, and some at Campbelltown. So there's games everywhere, but they get nothing out besides being the provider. There's not many Magpies fans left, and I think the Magpies run kind of came to an end, obviously in that late 80s as well, when they started to fail. And Balmain, being at the Knights game the other day, I know how many people obviously support the old Balmain up here in this area. That's what was at the game. So I don't know, joint ventures, we've seen one fail. St. George is kind of in the same situation. They're in a bit of a clusterfuck at the moment, aren't they? And all they're really getting out of it is St. George is getting Illawarra's juniors and a decent training base. They don't seem to be working, but they need to sort out those board issues, because it starts at the top, and it starts at the top because you look back at that joint venture, and well, this is what we're talking about today, but joint ventures are more of a takeover, really. Manly did it successfully, didn't they? Manly successfully took over North Sydney. What people don't realise, and a lot of people won't realise this, is when the Tigers merged, it was meant to be Parramatta and Balmain, and they meant to be the Parramatta Tigers, and it was a straight takeover. And then West come in with the money, and Balmain said, we can keep our identity. So essentially, Manly screwed North Sydney. I think Balmain have screwed West in a way. And we're seeing that happen. What are we, 24 years later? They're still fighting. So
just on the final point for the Tigers before we move on, I like this point here, and I just want to quickly touch on this because it's my thoughts as well, and good old Mick brought this one up. But Benji's coaching career could be over before it even begins, and this is my worry as well, because we heard even tonight, for those who watch NRL 360, Brett Reid mentioned that when they go to training the media, it's Benji running the show at the moment. So he's effectively already being that head coach. We're seeing him in the media at the moment where he's not getting on with the recruitment manager either. So not a great start to coach, I guess, as a life as a coach. This is the worry for the Tigers, is that they've already gone all in on this operation and this plan of attack for the next, I think they've locked themselves into almost 5 years of this. So Shimsheen's the first 2, Benji the last 3. Who's to say, and we said this when it first happened at the start of the year, is that if this doesn't work out this year and looking into next year, which is not working at the moment, you would have absolute rocks in your head as a Tigers member, whoever makes the decisions there, to keep it going. You would have absolute rocks in your head. When you got coaches, and I'm not saying he's necessarily better, but when you got coaches like Holbrook and that available, and the other ones that are available at the moment, you would be absolutely stupid to not be willing to hear what they can do for the club to turn it around, because right now it's just not working at all. And I can't see it working in the future the way it is currently set up. But look, from one team that is doing it not too good.
Can we highlight Benji's options if he doesn't coach? Because I've just got a couple for him.
Media. We
can go back to his successful side, Benji. I hear there's a position on SEN with Andrew Johns walking away. And the Wallabies, they're terrible at the moment. So he could either probably play for him somehow or coach him. So there's obviously going to be options for him elsewhere. He had such a successful rugby union career, he may as well step back into it.
Why not? He'll just go back on the touch field as well. He's good with that. Let's talk. There's one game I want to talk about. I want to touch on the negative side of it first, which is the Cronulla Sharks. The Warriors were good, but this is the Cronulla Sharks just cannot beat top 8 teams. The only team they've beaten this year was the Eels, but that was the start of the year when Parra hadn't even turned up yet. They didn't know they were playing the NRL season yet. and they weren't even in the top 8 at the time. So I don't know if you can even technically use that at the moment. So the Sharks, for mine, are so bad at playing these good sides that there's no point in them at the moment getting to the finals. Like, there's just, it's a waste of time. They're not playing any kind of finals football at the moment that will have them or hold them in any good stead once they get to that level of things, when there's other teams that are showing much better form. Jez, it's hard to watch the Sharkies for mine at the moment because they're obviously flat track bullies. They smash the bad teams. They can clean them up by 50, but they just have nothing when it comes to these good quality opposition.
Yeah, the metaphor I like to use is Australia playing tests at home. Like, you're absolutely right. Flat track bullies. Watching that game on the weekend, their edge defense was so poor. Like, they just didn't trust the bloke next to them, and the Warriors just absolutely carved them up. And it's a shame because, Nico Hines being such a great guy, everyone has a soft spot for him. My wife likes to remind me when the Sharks are playing. I don't know why, but especially when he's lining up for a conversion. But yeah, they cannot compete against a top 8 side. Their run home, how many top 8 sides do they have looking at the draw? I think they've got a couple of tough games coming up that they have to win. Otherwise, they will be sliding that slippery slope and giving us folks at the Knights here a chance.
You're saying there's a chance?
Saying there's a chance.
Watching quickly,
it was, yeah.
The Sharks draw.
I'd be concerned.
Just while you keep going, Jez, the Sharks draw as you requested. This weekend they got Manly. Next weekend they got the Penrith Panthers at Penrith. Then they got South in Perth. Then they've got the Titans in Sydney. The Cowboys up at Townsville, and then the Knights in Newcastle, and then the Raiders in Sydney. So it's quite a tough draw, especially for the way the Sharks are playing. And someone I was speaking to just before, and the podcast about to drop tonight, Andy Raymond, was saying it depends what Manly side turns up as well, because at the moment they're technically still a chance, so they might be desperate this weekend. So that's not a given game. That's a different game. I know they've been flat track bullies, but Manly might be up for that game, so it's a tough one as well there. They've got some tough teams there.
Yeah. Well, I spoke to Dale Finucane a couple of weekends ago at a wedding, and I've asked him to go easy against the Knights. So you can pencil a win there for Newcastle. Don't bet against that because they might get in trouble. But what we're saying is not undermining or putting any shade towards the Warriors, because they were slick. Like, I've got up the Wars in my bio for a reason. They are going to be my finals team this year. They're going to make top 4. You mark my words. They're a top 4 team.
No disrespect to the Warriors. We're about to get to the Warriors and how good they are and have been, but this is just on the Sharks for this part of the show. But Adam, I know you wanted to talk about the Cronulla Sharks, and what else you got?
This rocks and diamonds. I didn't see all the game. I saw the start of the game when I was sitting in the passenger seat for a bit on the way down, and they started the
best part.
I saw the best part. They started the game on fire. They looked good. Like Jeremy said, it's hard. Everyone loves Nico Hines, but I don't think I'm starting to not be able to tolerate with Nico Hines. Is every time something goes against him, he looks like he's going to cry on the field. So doesn't whinge or complain. The referee generally just looks upset. So I think he's starting to feel the effects of the season. But they let Sean Johnson run around in dinner suit, like in that first half. Like, he didn't have to do anything to set up those tries. He literally could have had a suit on and wouldn't have got any dirt on it. And there lies their issue. I don't think they're tough enough. I don't think their forward pack's tough enough. I think their outside backs, their full backs, are a bunch of cocky pricks, to be honest. And I'm happy to say that. I'm happy to name them all individually as well. But
yeah, you can go in on Jesse Ramey, and I've got a few things to say about him.
It's all of them. It's Jesse Ramey, it's Melatoa, it's Katoa, it's Will Kennedy. The only one who probably isn't. Hey?
Can we quickly talk about their backline? Because I wanted to bring this up, and I know at the start of the year we all heard about their media and stuff. They were saying how good it was that they've all re-signed long-term, things like that, blah, blah, blah. But when I look at their actual backline and see their performances this year, it doesn't stand out to me as a backline you fear. It actually stands out to me as one that you can easily get over. And it's like, if I was to put on paper and rate the backlines, at the moment, I don't even think they're in the top 8 of backlines in the comp at the moment. And that's the worry there, where the Sharks are trying to say to their fans and everyone out there is that this is their plan for the future. But I don't think they're like, I don't think their backline is anything to really worry about or be scared
Hines
of.
isn't halfback. I've said that from the start. Hines is a 5'8".
No, he's not.
Yeah.
They've got Matt Moylan there, who, guess where Matt Moylan should be going, guys?
Super League.
Super League.
It's a pretty simple solution if they do that. He's getting on his career. They put Hines to 5'8", they bring Trindle in a halfback. All of a sudden, their halves combination looks better. Talakai in the centres. Besides, I'm about to comparing to what Bradman Best was doing, and then Bradman Best come out and killed Origin in the weekend's game. But all he's trying to do is run over blokes. He's got nothing else to his game but running over blokes getting put through holes. So essentially takes his outside player out of play unless they create some kind of play which they do, to get Talakai to run that front line on a block play. But I said they're cocky, they're overconfident, and they're not really backing up. Like, Ramian's got that much stupidity in his game that he hurts his team more than he actually helps them. I think their lies are issue. And, look, their forward pack, it's not really much. Like, they've got Cam McInnes playing lock at the moment, or they did on the weekend. They spent big money on him to come there as one of the best hookers in the game back then. Definitely one of the best defensive hookers in the game. I'd have Nakora in my team. I don't care. I think everyone would have Nakora in my team. But, Kafusi.
Connor Tracy in there. Connor Tracy is such a utility.
I'd have him in the centres and Talakai in the second row. Really?
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Talakai in the second row instead of Wilton. Wilton's okay. He's not great. Kafusi was a bench player at Parramatta that struggled him at the game, and Rudolph just can't seem to stay injury-free at the moment. So it's not really that much when you look at it, is it?
I wish I could take credit for this, but this was something I heard on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. It was actually a fan's point of view on one of the radio stations. They said that what the Sharks need at the moment, and it's so true when you look at it, that all their forwards are basically the same apart from their edges where, as you said, Nakora is a freak. He's a world-class player, but especially their middles are all the same sort of players. They don't do anything different. There's nothing in their game. They're all identical. So that means when they sub, there's no differences coming on. So what you should do is what you just mentioned there. Connor Tracy should go to the centres. Talakai should go to the bench. So then they've got a game breaker who can come on, whether it's in the middle or on the edge when top players are tired, and actually get some momentum going for the team and get some charges happening. That's what the Sharks are missing at the moment. They don't have anyone who can really get on the field when there's some tired forwards and make a big difference and actually change the momentum of the game. Where a lot of these top 8 teams at the moment have those figures sitting on the bench ready to come on and basically wreak havoc. So
they miss aggression. They miss Andrew Fafita, let's be honest. Big time.
And
massive.
Shout out to Tom Hazelton for that massive 80-metre runaway that he got for a no try. Poor bugger. Poor bugger.
But just quickly, we do, just on this rumour quickly, I know there was a lot of talk about Tracy going to the Eagles, and I know Adam can probably say a bit more about this one, but from what my beliefs are, the Parramatta, the club, went a bit quiet on this deal due to the Bailey Simonson's form, and they're really happy with that and basically just don't know what to do with Tracy if he did come over. Maybe there was a little bit of talk maybe on the wing for Sevo, but I think Sevo is Brad Arthur's little toy bunny or something.
He's gone for 4 weeks anyway.
Well, he's gone now, but I just don't know if that's going to happen now until, if it was to happen, maybe at the end of the year, but not.
That's not going to happen. It was all but a done deal until he played against Cronulla. Sorry, he played against Newcastle for Cronulla. That game he come in, he stood out in the centres, and all of a sudden, shake your mouse, Adam, shake your mouse. Where was the reminder, guys? Come on.
Yeah, there was no.
I got to it before it locked that time, but I said it was a done deal. And I think Cronulla kind of realised they need him, and all of a sudden weren't happy to pay as much of his contract. And Parramatta, obviously, the emergence of Bailey Simonson, the emergence of Arcee, they kind of turned around and realised they didn't need him, and he's probably going to do exactly what he's doing and play reserve grade at the moment. So. But yeah, look, it's interesting. It could still happen. Brad Arthur come out today on the NRL 360 and said Parramatta still got the cap space, and their recruitment team were out still looking for a player. So they've got till August 3rd.
What's this space? They might have.
But like you said, they don't want a player that's not going to walk into their starting 17. So that's what they're looking for.
Yeah. Look, I mentioned there was. Yeah, I mentioned on that game there was a good side of things as well, and that's the Warriors, and it shows by pretty much our little I don't know what they call it, little headlines or something they call it, and Chihu, up the wires, Chihu. They've been phenomenal this year, and I know we've got some comments here about the Warriors and the fact that look, the old man here, Warriors have loved the origin period being a full strength side. Every game it does help. Look, that does help. There is no denying that. But it's the way they're playing for mine. I feel like even if they did lose a couple of players, they just keep the ball rolling. Like it's just how they're playing at the moment. They're just machine-like. It's actually, in a way, it's Melbourne of old. It's how Melbourne used to play and things like that, where they just keep going, and they've just got that extra little bit of X factor though that makes them so much scarier. Like you look at Johnson's in career best form, but not in the way that we'd expect a Sean Johnson to be in career best form. We'd expect, if we were saying that sentence, it'd be with his steps and his slick passes. It's not that way. It's the fact that he's controlling the game so well. He's just got the ball on a string and has everyone as puppets and basically moves everyone where they need him to go. And it helps, as Adam did mention, Sharks didn't put maybe as much pressure as they should have on Johnson and let him run around a bit. But he's been doing it almost week in, week out this year. And we've got the final segment coming up, so I won't spoil it too much. But he's arguably been the form player of the comp, Sean Johnson. And there's a coincidence why the Warriors are going so good. I had question marks over the coach at the start of the year, but it's put egg on my face. It's been a sensational recruitment to get him over from the Penrith system, obviously. I'll go Adam first. I'll go to Jez first every time. So let's get Adam's first with the Waz. We know the Waz supporter base is growing with Jez, but are you on it yet?
I'm still off him. Because of the snug Kiwis at the game last week. But the Warriors have always been that team that can do this at home. They've always been that good team at home. So it doesn't surprise me when they put 40 on Cronulla yesterday, the way Cronulla have been against top 8 teams, as we just highlighted. But look, they're playing good football, but if you kind of look at it, they've kind of been a bit beneficial of a pretty good draw as well. And I'll go back through it. Like, obviously, Parramatta at Origin time without the players. We know that. We highlighted that last week. The week before that, they got beat by South Sydney, who've been in pretty poor form in New Zealand. The week before that, they played St George, obviously away. As we said, they've struggled with away games. They pumped St George, so I'm not going to take that away from them, but St George were pretty ordinary in that game. Week before that, they had the bye. Week before that, they smashed Canberra. So that's probably one of their best performances this year. That was obviously in Croker's 300th game. They managed to get himself up for it. And I think that was probably one of Sean Johnson's best games of his career. So if you go back and look at it, yeah, look, they've been beneficiary of some good draws. But also, they've probably lost some games they could have been higher up based on their draw. Like, they got beat by Brisbane in a home game. McLean Park obviously wasn't at Auckland. McLean Park, anyone know where that was?
That's another part of New Zealand.
There's parts over there we don't care about everywhere. They had the Dolphins at home, and before that they had another bye. Like, they've been pretty lucky, let's be honest. They've played the Bulldogs at a core stadium. They've played Penrith at Suncorp, obviously in Magic Round, like a away game there. They got beat. They got beat by the Roosters at home. So, you know, at last year, I know everyone's jumping on this Warriors bandwagon at the moment. At last year, we sat there and everyone spoke about Cronulla. Remember Cronulla were the big team last year? They end up in second spot. And we thought, how did they get there? But no one actually saw them as a genuine threat. People are starting to talk about the Warriors that way, and I don't think they'll be there when it comes to the crunch time. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, Jeremy. I know you're looking for a good finals team, but we've looked at what they've had to play. They've got a pretty easy run home when you look at home games.
That's the thing. They've got a very easy draw.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
But it means they're going to get 2 bites of the cherry. That's the thing. So they will be there when it counts. They'll get top 4.
Eventually, they're going to have to play a top opposition away from home. So if they finish in the top 4, right, if they finish second, they'll get the home game. If they finish third, they play away, they lose it, they can play at home, and then they're going away again. The only way the Warriors can generally win the comp is if they finish second in the top 2, is my opinion. Because they have to win, and they win again. They've still got to come to Sydney for a grand final, which, well, they've never done, have they? They've obviously struggled to do. What was the last one? 2000 and...
Yeah.
2000, there was that famous one against the Storm where they beat the Storm down there in Melbourne. Got that done.
I'm talking about grand finals, though. Like grand finals.
Yeah.
They've been beaten by Manly in the grand final in 2012. Was it? Or 2011? 2011?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I can't keep up.
Whatever. People in the comments fix us up here, us fans. Don't know what we're
I think it was 2011, to be honest. And they've been, because I'm pretty sure it was when Chris and Emu went there. And in 2002 or 2003, they got beat by the Roosters. 2002. So, you know, it's one thing. Like, looking who they play on the way home, as we said, they've got a favourable run, but they've got Canberra, top 8 team in New Zealand. They've got the bye again. That's their third bye. They've got the Gold Coast up there, and the Gold Coast can be fighting for a top 8 spot. as we saw the form they played quite good football yesterday. We've got the Tigers who have taken a game to New Zealand, which obviously helps the Warriors. They've got Manly in New Zealand. They've got St George in New Zealand. They've got the Dolphins at Suncorp who are limping. That's it. So they've had a pretty favourable draw. It just worries me come finals time if they can actually get themselves up for the games against top opposition.
Well, I really hope they can, because I think no team deserves a leg up. But if there ever was one, it's the New Zealand Warriors. They kept the competition alive during the pandemic. Without them, we don't have the game. So I think
that's why
everyone likes them, and rightly so. They're a likable team. They don't really have anyone in there that you think, oh, they're an asshole. I don't like them as a person. So I think, they do have a bit of a rub of the green when it comes to the draw. But I hope what you're saying there is, rather than putting emphasis on that they have a lot more home games or whatever that is, that you're saying that hopefully they can take that form and that run of wins into finals time. Because I think you could probably say you would like to see them do well. Of course, you barrack for your own team. But for someone like myself who will probably need a finals team, I'm jumping on the Warriors because I want to see them do well. And I think it's great for the competition where New Zealand are doing well. And I think the competition owes it to New Zealand to jump on them. So if your team's not making the 8, jump on the wire train with me.
They should have done it better, though. And everyone said this. Like, we obviously all knew the people, like what happened during COVID, and they had to give them something. They took the 9s off them. Like, we should have had Magic Round over there or something. Like, we've seen some teams take games over there, but to give them this run of home games at the end is... I'm probably bitter because my team's been screwed by a draw, but I don't think it does them any favours either. Like, I know it looks like it does to make them finish higher up the ladder, but eventually they're going to have to come to Australia. They're going to have to play games here for finals, and I think it's going to hurt them. That's where I think they'll fall
off. The final say on the Warriors, I'll go against Adam here. I love what I'm seeing from the Warriors, the style of footy they're playing. It's not the Warriors of old. This is a different footy team. Like, even Adam, you said earlier, the Sharks were up for that early on, yesterday. The fact that they were so easily able to wrestle back that momentum the Sharks had early on and really push on with that game and just basically put the foot on the accelerator and went, see you later. So impressive. I really like. And the thing with going in with an easy draw, yes, you probably want one or two harder teams to see where you're at. But the also thing with the Warriors is that will give them some momentum getting into the finals. And momentum's a funny thing in this game. It can make sure you beat some of these big teams if you've got the momentum. Like, look at the other top teams coming into the finals, and I looked at the draw today. Most teams in the top 8 have a very, very hard run home. I don't think many have an easy run home. The Warriors probably have the softest, which means hopefully they won't be as beat up as some of these other teams who are in, week out, versus these top 8 teams and doing finals footy early. They don't have to start their run early because they've played some really good games already and got their points up. So they can work their way into the finals and give players rest if they need to, things like that as well. So I just like the Wars. I like where they're at. So this leads us into the last part of the show. And please, guys, put your nominations in for this one. It's your Dally M predictions. So who you think will win the Dally M medal this year? I know it went behind closed doors, I think round 12, and I wish I wasn't as busy and was able to get that up, but the table where everything was at.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I'll go to you first then, Ads.
I'll give you the top 10 just to quickly go through that. So Payne Haas was on 30, Cleary 27, Grant 25 with Hines on 25, Reece Walsh 24, Latrell Mitchell 23, Hunt and Walker and Dylan Edwards and Sean Johnson 22. That's your top 10.
Interestingly, there, Reece Walsh can't win it now because he got the suspension for longer than 2 weeks. So, if you get that, obviously, you're out.
Cleary's been out for obviously a few games, so you think he'd struggle to win it. And Cronulla have been up and down. Hines, Mitchell's been out. Payne Haas hasn't been playing that good of football. I know I've just bagged
him. Origin goes towards it as well. So
Harry Grant, lock it up, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, Cody Walker.
No, I'm going well out. He who we can't name obviously made a great run of a year. Scott Drinkwater on 15 points, and he can get 6 points a game. If you look back at some of his last games and their wins, he could almost find himself up near the top. So I'm going Scott Drinkwater, followed by Sean Johnson, because Sean Johnson was only 8 points away, and they've obviously had a good run of games, and you think he would have got 6 points again on the weekend. This whole new voting thing sucks, by the way. We go back to a 3-2-1, but Yeah, that's my prediction there is him to get that. Can we do coach of the year as well?
Yeah, go on. Why not?
Well, it's going to be Webster, isn't it?
Yeah, it's easy one.
Yeah.
I've just
You're double ganger.
Yeah. Good looking blokes. They're gonna finish top 4, even though I don't think they're a genuine threat to win the comp. Which I was about to go to. I still think there's only 4 teams that can win the comp, and I haven't got them in there. But Webster will get Dally M Coach of the Year. Johnson will win the.
It's going everything.
Johnson will win the Dally M. Johnson will win it. It's hard with Drinkwater. They've got a tough run of games, and if they fall off and they can't make the finals, his form might fall off as well, because if they lose a couple of them, they could go. I think it comes down to this weekend's game. Whoever wins this Parramatta Cowboys game will go on a really good run, and one of the players could. And I think that's all I've got to offer you guys. Coach of the Year, Dally M of the Year. No,
that's all right.
Yeah, is there any other awards? Sorry, I could probably
not an important one.
I could probably predict your female player of the year, Dally M player of the year.
Millie Boyle.
Yeah, probably. She gets it every year, doesn't she, now?
And she's at the Roosters, so.
Yeah.
I think, as we were talking about with the Warriors and their run home, so Sean Johnson definitely, but even Chance Nickel-Clockstad is a smoky. He's on 16 points at the moment. If he continues to play like he did on the weekend, he'll start to accumulate a lot more points. I like the Drinkwater shout. But I also think that if the Storm can put a couple of games together, then Harry Grant will really start to pull away, because he's still at the top of the table there with 25. So he's in third at the moment, or equal third with Nico Hines. If the Storm start to put some games together, Harry Grant will be in the forefront of that with him and Munster. And I think he'll accumulate a fair more points going into the back end of the season. I think he, unless Payne Haas pulls his finger out, but I don't see that happening.
He needs to get on the field for that. He's been hot and cold with that. What about your coach? You going Webster?
Oh, yeah, Webster. Adam O'Brien, obviously. Our Lord and Saviour. The boys played well.
I like the... Personally, I'm a Sean Johnson fan for the Dally M. I think he's out in front by a little bit at the moment with the scoring system. But I do think a smoky at the moment. I do like the Drinkwater shout as well, personally, but I think Cody Walker would be my other selection. I think South are about to go on a run, and at the start of the year when they were firing, a lot to do with Cody Walker, that run they had at the start of the year as well. So he would have got some points there. I know South have been quiet this little patch for the last probably 4 or 5 weeks, so don't take too much. He would have got points from Game 3 Origin there. I think he would have probably top-polled with the medal as well. I anticipate South to make a massive run. Yeah. I anticipate South to make a massive run now to the finals and be a top 4 team. So I think that'll be off the back of Cody Walker. So
I went behind closed doors in round 12, I've got to add. So if you look at South in his run, then they lost round 13, they won round 14, they lost round 15. They had a bye, and then they lost North Queensland round 17, and they beat the Warriors. So he's probably a chance, but I guess inconsistency of your team is one of the biggest things. Like, if you look at some of the other teams, players that were in their top players, I'll give Parramatta an example because obviously he's Mitchell Moses on 19 points, but Gutho's outperformed him every game on 10 points. And Parramatta won 5 games in a row, so you think Gutho would have to pile high there, but it's going to cost Moses.
They share a lot of points.
That's where the problem is with Melbourne as well. So that's why I usually find one of these players, like you look at the Warriors, for example, and Sean Johnson, he stands out every week, doesn't he, as their halfback. As you look at Melbourne, Munster will get the points 1 week, then Grant will get him, then Hughes will get him. And it's, it's just one of those things.
It's not something to bring up now and start. It's too late in this show, but we can probably do it next week. Is the scoring system for the current Dally M I don't like it. I think it's flawed because of that, because I feel like they restrict players polling points each week. Like, as you said, why should, if, say, Harry Grant and Cameron Munster have 9 out of 10 games, let's speak, and they're both as good as each other, why should they not have the same points going towards the Dally M medal, things like that? I personally I don't like it. But my coach would be Webster. I think Webster's definite for that. But I can also see the NRL giving it to Ivan Cleary because they'll say he's lost players. They're still at the top. They're doing this juggernaut thing. So I can see that happening as well. But that's all we've got time for. Thank you once again for tuning in. I tried to make this a quicker show tonight, but we just got the referees got us everyone going. The show was going off early on with the refs, so that just seemed to get everyone going. But I know, Jez, you want to have a little 2-minute Jez rant on something I heard just before.
Conversions. I don't want to go full NFL, but I am all for teams having designated kickers. They can come on.
Most do.
Team.
Yeah, most goal kickers actually make their kicks.
Yeah.
Don't even start. There's so many games we should have won. Look, on the weekend, he hit 11 from 11 against the Bulldogs when it really mattered. And then, again, backing it up against the Tigers, sorry. It was just, mate, don't get me started.
Here's what we're going to do for the fans, Joel. Here's what we're going to do for the fans of the show. Sometime in the next week and a half, I don't know when, but sometime in the next week and a half before I go overseas, I'm going to take Jeremy to a park.
Yep.
I'm going to go back and look at every single kick that Ponga made from those exact spots. Jeremy's going to get one from each of those spots, and if he nails all of them, we'll call him the goal kicking lord, and he can goal kick. Talk about goal kickers every week. If he misses one, he's not allowed to. Is that fair?
That is fair, fans. So that will be on, and I'll have that video posted.
I'll slot him. You know this, Adam. I'll slot him. I'm not going to be under fatigue, though.
Yeah, we're going to make you run some laps.
Yeah. Getting to some hills.
Jeremy auditioning to be the Knights' designated goal kicker.
Get me there.
Yeah. Tune in and promise next week, guys. We've been teasing this the last couple of weeks, just haven't been able to get around to it. We will do our favourite post-try celebrations before.
We might as well wait till the end of Try July now.
Oh, actually, yeah, true.
One can sneak in.
All right, we'll wait. So that's it, guys. Thank you once again for tuning in. The show was going off tonight. We had quite a lot of people watching and getting involved, which we loved and made the show what it was. Thank you for the continuous love that you give the page and all the follows, podcasts, videos, YouTube, all the works. Get involved with the threads as well. We're on threads as well now. So go ahead, give us a follow, like, whatever you do on that platform. I don't actually know how it works still, but yeah, please give us some love. Enjoy your night, guys. Thank you for tuning in.